in about a week later now, and you can see the way the lane is all dried out. The muck has gone off it, so it means when you go back and forth on a tractor, on this, on anything, you're not bringing the whole muck with you. There is a few places here that's a wee bit lower where the front of the bucket of the loader couldn't get in, so the next day it rains, I'll throw it into the front bucket with the shovel. It's only a wee bit here and a couple of the wee hollows that there is, and that just gets rid of the muck. That there was raised up a shale, and then we put a load of blinding on top of it, just basically dust on top of it, and it soaked in really nicely through the stones. It left it that we'd no holes that opened up, but it will need a recoat probably next year or the year after. Well, it's another little job done. It widens the lane back out to its original width, and that's good enough for me. We're on my second day of fencing. It's lovely, blue skies. Well, a bit grey looking now, but it was blue a while ago. What I'm at here is I'm just going around and checking all the fences, all the connections, and I'm on the last few bits and pieces here. Now, I've had wee bits of problems with this kind of stuff here. Fences are all off at the minute, I think. And I'm more and more moving away from it now, because you can see here, see the way this is all rusted out? Just take that handle off, look at the state of that there, and that's not letting the power through that, or at least it's definitely taking an awful lot away from it, and that's no good. A lot of this stuff over the years, the quality has failed a lot. Like this older stuff here, and you can see it's not rusted, and that there's on a long time versus this here, which is probably only on maybe the guts of a year, if that. So on the back of this yoke here, the great thing is the room, place for ball valves, bits of plumbing stuff here. In here we have all our fixtures for our fences and staples, stuff like that. We have some of this stuff here where I can run a bit of heavy gauge wire through to replace that underground cable if I want to, and some tape then to replace it in the gates. And then in there I have some power tools, just whatever's needed, a grinder, a set of pipe wrenches and an impact, and it's just handy having it all in the one place. So anyway, let's get tearing into this and get some of these things fixed. Good. I'll just put this guy on here. Now, this is nothing today about either. Well, look at, do for now. Just to show you on the lower end, look at, very same thing again. That wire's completely rotted now, so it is. And it rots into the white tape. And I know people might have different ideas of why that might cause that, but if stuff in this 15 years and is as good as the day I put it in, this stuff here was just a bad batch. Now look at this one. This is a different brand. This one was put in about 2 years ago, and you can see there's no rust on that. These guys here, you see me use, I'm not saying brands or anything because I'm not promoting anything. I'm just saying what I like and what I don't, and just everybody has their own preferences, but I really like this because you can put the high intensity wire right around it, and you can have your latches any way you want. So if you had wires coming from all different directions, say you had a post in the centre and you had 4 paddocks coming down to it, you can hook here, here, here and here. It's a very simple idea, but it's a brilliant one. So that's there, it just screws around the post, put your wire to it. Quite a simple idea. So anyway, that's that problem fixed. I'm going to keep going on and doing several of those that have to be done, but it'll be worth doing. At least then our fence will be good. When we turn it on, we fit to test it, and I know our fence will be good. And I'll not have to start rooting at it when the cows are out, because I'll be busy enough when that time comes. So now that we're on a roll, let's keep at it. So we had a couple of posts laid down here in the autumn time. There's one of them here. So anyway, I put a couple of temporary pegs up just to keep the wire up off the ground. But that was only a temporary job, and I'd rather have me pegs for me strip grazing. So let's sort that. So just over here in our meadow, this is a good big wallop of ground here, and it is fairly flat. It's the only kind of flat ground that we have on the farm. But flat land does come with problems, and the problem with this ground here, I don't know if you can see the yellowness kind of there. That yellowness comes from wet. It's very hard to drain because the levels, because the main shuck or drain itself comes along here and it goes into the neighbouring field over there. But you can see the way it kind of rises. So the water, you'll always get water laying there, and you'll just see a trickle going out into the neighbour's ground. In fairness to the neighbour, he's a good one. He cleans his as well, but it's pure rock over there on that side. So it really could do it being lowered probably another foot at least, and that would allow a lot of the water to get away. So I might go over to my neighbour sometime and just talk to him about it and get that maybe in the summertime lowered just slightly, let a lot of the water to get away rather than it pooling back here. You can see the way this ground's getting poached just here, and that's because this drain coming across here is probably blocked now because the flow of water just wasn't getting away quick enough. Across here as well is starting to get wet, and this was a problem area before, and when we did drain it, it made a great job of it. You could see the change in grass growth as well. So Jerry will be back here. We can get this shuck all cleaned out now in the early summer and just address some of these wet areas that are really starting to come now again. So if you come here to where the drain goes out into the neighbouring ground, you can see the drain is clean. You can see the rocks on the bottom, like, and you can see it trickling out there the whole time. There's a lovely little flow coming out of that. All of that is just standard land maintenance, but this time of year I always kind of jot down the work that needs to be done. So this is definitely a project right here where you'll see Jerry digging sometime late spring, early summer, and rectifying this. Just grab a tester here. So I'll just hook this in to power up our last field. So nearly all of our fields I have a separator. The blank screw-in insulator versus one that has the wire lapped in, and that way when cows aren't in that paddock I can just cut it off like that. But now I want to test, because this is the furthest field away from the fencer. So this would be normally the weakest. So if we can get a good result here, we know that our job has been successful. So we just put our earth down there. Stick that guy on there, and we can get a top one. Amazing the camera doesn't show that light, whatever type of light it is, but I'm getting clear lights the whole way up there to 10,000, so we're good enough. That means the fence is in good order, so that's that job done. Alright, so I'm actually just in front of my own house here. See behind me, there used to be a lovely timber fence there. And the first section was removed with an early on storm we had before Christmas, and then the rest of it was removed with the last storm we had there about 6 weeks ago. So this is the type of fence that we have up here. This fence is alright, by the way. This would be a lot fresher, this piece, because we had to widen this out. It used to come level with that one there, tight to this hedge the whole way across. Then we widened it out to let the auto mower, which cuts the grass, you can just see the line of the auto mower there. So rather than having to cross the drive in front of the house, I put a hole through the lower hedge into the other section of the garden there, so the auto mower comes out through here, makes its way across, and is able to do both sides of the garden without having to cross the drive. You can see here there's the remnants of the post. So the girls and my good wife Sinead spent a couple of days dismantling all of it, pulling all the rails off, and you can see here's some of the posts, the uprights here. That's them there, you can see the way they're rotted out, but this part of the post has no rot in it at all. The rails themselves have no rot in it, it's just the posts. But what I am going to do is I'm going to use concrete posts this time. So it'll be concrete in the ground, and then we'll be screwing the timber to it. With the rails and stuff, as you can see, they're all stacked here and there. We're going to reuse some of the rails. What I'll do is I'll put the concrete posts a little bit tighter together, and that means that I can cut off the ends, because any rot that comes always comes in the ends. So if we can cut off 2 inches of either end, so bringing our posts closer together by about 4 or 5 inches, that'll leave it that we can reuse a lot of these rails. I think that fence was due to come down anyway, because we were out one night, and that's why you can see a couple of newish rails. But myself and my wife went out one night with a couple of friends, and we're having a good hour laugh at about 12:30 at night, and I got a phone call from my sister telling me to come home, that there was cattle running through our garden. I first of all couldn't understand how they got in, but then there was one little tiny gap where I walk up to the milking parlour, and the run up the laneway here, came in there, and then what happened was some of them dashed back down the lane here behind me, others were trapped in the garden, and they got down here to this corner, seen their fellow teammates running that way, couldn't get out, jumped through the fence, smashed all into pieces, and then just tore off, and I don't know who owned them or where they came from, but yeah, this fence was just a bit unfortunate in the last few months. the why we empty drinkers. You have a look at that stuff there. Clean out the drinkers once, twice a year is definitely no harm. Before we turned off our drinkers for the winter time, this one was heavily leaking, overfilling, and I know when I lifted the ball valve it didn't stop, it kept on filling. So there's a couple of things that could be wrong. It's usually a little seal inside the ball valve. It can also be another little plastic lad inside it can go too. So I normally just change them out. I'll keep the rest of it just for parts. What I'm going to do, and what I do with all of them, is I cut a hole here. It doesn't weaken them, it doesn't let an animal in near the valve or nothing, but it does give me access to be able to work on the valve underneath here. Alright, so there you are. Now we have good access to that valve. You probably can't see it, but I can, and that will make my job a lot easier. I'm just going to screw off this float. Nothing wrong with the float. There it is. Alright, so there's our ball valve off. Now two things that can go in these. This guy here can start to wear, and there is wear, I can see it there, and that means when it's pushing again, this little seal is in here. It's not getting a proper seal. If the stem out and the float, and this will pop out. So the next thing that goes is these. You can buy these as a complete replacement, or you can slide out this little seal here. Might be fit to get out. Here it comes. Come on. And there it is. The seal has a dent in it there. Do you see the dent? And that could stop it from working. Sometimes you just turn it over, pop it in like that, and it can work. But today I'm just going to replace it because I have other jobs to do and I don't want to spend time having to come back to it. And a lot of times when you do replace these seals, it still leaks, I find. Oh, I have my box of plumbing bits here, and I have everything I should need. Plumber's tape, and this is our new valve. So all I need is this outer side here. I'm not sure if you can hear that wind on the mic. It's quite severe now. You wouldn't want to stand here too long. There's no way I'd put cows out in that, because that is perishing cold. Nothing wrong with the old float, so we're going to reuse that. Maybe you've hit to see that valve now, it's a bit shinier than the other one. So when we lift the valve stem, there it is, it stops. And there's no added pressure needed, it just stops there and then. So yeah, that's fixed. I'll come back and I'll check it after when it is filled up. It'll take a wee while to fill. But what I get my girls to do, because they're off on Friday, but I get them to get a brush and just brush the sides of some of the drinkers and dump them out. There'll be 3 of them at it, so it won't take very long for them to do it. They'll also fit to check the rest of the drinkers for me. I have checked quite a few of them and I don't see any leaks, but they can take their time and have a walk around, have a better check. But that is another little thing fixed. Let's get on to the next job. Alright, so we're in here in the milking parlour, just behind me here. And this door here is what separates our milking parlour from our dairy. Now we had a board B inspection there not that long ago, and our board B inspector put this down as a fault here, or something that needs attention, because when this door is closed, he said that rodents can get from the milking parlour into the dairy, and they're not allowed to be going to any parties in there. So that has to be sorted. Good thing is, when the lads are putting on this door, the joint is just here. But if you look, it might be hard to see it here on the camera, but you'll see it in a wee while. But they've overlapped that quite a bit, so that goes way up here underneath, which is a good thing. It's going to work in my favour. It means I don't have to get a different sheet or anything. I can simply just cut off that bad bit on the bottom, slide that down a bit further, and that should fix our problem. So I didn't actually realise it went up so far. So I can afford to take more of this, because there's still a bit of damage here on the bottom, so I can afford to just cut another strip of that, because it doesn't need a big overlap like that. It's just extra material, so when it's there we might as well use it. All right, now we're over in the back corner of our away farm. This is very, very steep ground here, but this fence you see behind, you might have seen a clip of me doing or working on this last year while I was putting up these two posts here, steel posts, and I was fixing this fence. If I had a penny for every time I fixed this particular fence, yeah, I'd have a lot of pennies. As you can see here, it's down again, and this time a good old fashioned tree has took it down. So yeah, that tree then got backed up by this tree here, decided it would follow suit. And actually he's a bigger one than you'd imagine. We were looking at the tail end of it there, so it's not going to be much firewood, it's just going to be a lot of work clearing these bushes. Come over here. Now in fairness, this is what happens when you don't address jobs there and then. You end up putting a fence around something and saying I'll come back to it. But this fell last year, in the storm we had last winter, and it was the only tree I didn't get cleaned up. So we're going to have to tackle into that one as well when we're doing the other ones. It's not the end of it, because there's a domino effect happening here, and the domino effect just keeps going on the whole way over this hedge. So we have another lump of a branch down there. Not the end of the world, but this area here, which is basically like a cliff, that's why we have it fenced off. We have two trees down there. I don't mind them because no animals go down there, but still it has took the whole barbed wire that's tensioned that runs the whole length of this shuck. That's the unfortunate part of it. It takes the barbed wire down, so you're not only clearing trees, you have to fix a lot of barbed wire fences too. So we come down here then, and we're met by this paper stuff here, however the hell that got here. How did that get up here so far? It must have come off that tree and blew across and landed here, so the whole electric fence is down on that side. And then again, its friends said, hey, look it, might as well lay down with you, there's no point in us standing here. So there's another one gone. Another one about to come down just above it. Then we go past that one and we come to this one. Oh, this one's down as well. And all of these have took all the barbed wire, so the land isn't stockproof anymore. There's my lick bucket from the calves from last year. I haven't even went over to the silage field on the other side because there's a big bankment there too, so I presume there's a good few down. I can see them from a distance. I'm going to put the drone over there and get a proper look, but I don't think it's too bad. But I know we have a lot of stuff down in the field below the cottage as well. There's loads of branches, small branches blew way out over the fields. I noticed that in our silage fields. There's branches way out 100 to 200 yards away from the hedge, just blew, rolled across the field. So we're going to have to drive all of our silage fields now before grass starts to grow and check everything, because the last thing I want is a man coming into a mower field and picks up a big root and breaks his mower. And the only way to avoid that is just go around and check all this stuff. Plenty of work, I don't mind. These things can seem very daunting when you go across and look at them all at one time. So the way I do it is start somewhere. Don't look in front of you. Just look behind you, what you have done, and just keep going on. And we'll get them all cleared. Another question that I get asked a lot is the cottage. What's happened with the cottage? And did it get damaged in the storm? Well, not really. It did lose a sheet up there. The drone footage will show it better. That sheet needs to be replaced very quickly. Now, I did manage to get the sheet to come off it. It blew way up onto the hill above it. And there it is sitting there. So we do have the sheet put back on. Lost a bit of a sheet on the end here. You can see it blowing across, and it lost one on the far side as well. You can see the way we ratchet strapped it down. And I have no doubt only for that ratchet it would have peeled that entire roof off. Timbers underneath are rotten. There's nothing you can do really about it. So I don't really want to go up on that roof because it's dangerous. So a mate of mine has a Manitoot loader, and he's a chippy himself, and he's going to come over. He's going to do a couple of quick repairs, and he doesn't know that yet. He probably knows it now from looking at the video. We'll get him over and let him have a root at it. A lot of other people ask, am I going to do any work to it soon, Adrian? What's happening? Well, if you've seen what I was just at there and seen the amount of work that is ahead of me, and that's essential work, this isn't essential work. So when all of that work is done and the springtime buzz is over, then we'll come back here and we'll have a bit of crack with it. Here's a roof here at the minute that's collapsed inside, and this building is collapsing down, and I don't want any part of this building collapsing. And that's what I said, I wanted to preserve it until we do start to do the work to it. So I'm going to fix that roof up a wee bit and just stand the thing up, pull this whole ivy off it. There'll be an episode coming just to tidy that up. And that'll be probably the last episode then on preserving it until we actually do start the work. I think definitely the sheets and the windows stop the wind from blowing through it, and the doors, because if it had got in, well, it could have been a different story.